everyone. Welcome to this newest episode of The Real Radar.
I'm Sam.
I'm Mason, and hope you're having a great day. We are in the Student Union right now.
Yep, at Mercyhurst University.
We have an exciting episode for you. We have all sorts of stuff. We're going to talk about the Truman Show. But before we get into that discussion, we have some film news, and Sam's going to read that off for us.
Yeah. So I have a couple different things that happened in the past week, more like at the beginning of the month of October. So most notably, Ryan Reynolds just revealed that Hugh Jackman is returning as Wolverine for Deadpool 3.
I saw that. That was kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's very casual. I've seen a lot of memes about it online as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like people said, like, what if, and spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home.
Whoa, okay. Spoilers.
They said, maybe I won't reveal that. But it was a meme where it says Tom Holland says like, "Hey, certain two characters that appear at the end of the movie want to join," and so they made it similar to how he talked with Hugh Jackman.
Oh, that's funny.
And on his YouTube channel. But yeah, that's certainly exciting news. You know,
absolutely.
Because he had said that Logan was the end of his career as Wolverine, or Hugh Jackman did. So it'll be cool to see him return, maybe at least for one installment. Yeah. And maybe he'll get his classic, like, suit.
The classic, like, yellow and black suit. No, that'd be really cool. I think that's, like, exciting because I think a lot of people thought that, like, Hugh Jackman was done with superhero films. Yeah. But then now he's back. So that's cool, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's always fun. I don't know how it'll work with, like, the lore of it with Logan.
Sure, yeah.
But it'll be exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What else we got?
So October 4th was the 60-year James Bond anniversary. So World Bond Day was celebrated with a concert of like James Bond music at Royal Albert Hall. So that's a pretty big milestone for 60 years of, I guess, James Bond. And then more on the spooky side of Halloween scary movies, Terrifier 2. Which is sort of an indie horror film about like this. It's a killer clown.
Have you seen Terrifier 1?
Never.
Okay,
never.
I've not heard about this. Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's pretty. I hear it's pretty graphic.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah.
Gross. But it's kind of a cult classic. The clown has become kind of iconic.
Oh, okay.
Like he's used a lot, like in just scary images and stuff.
I gotcha. That's cool.
But yeah, Terrifier 2. Released this week actually on October 6th.
Nice.
And then just on Thursday, the Super Mario movie trailer released on the 7th.
Oh my goodness.
Released on the 7th, I think.
Yeah.
7th
or the 6th, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it, but the animation is pretty spectacular.
I have seen it. Yeah.
It'll be exciting to watch, at least visually. I know it's gonna be a kids movie, so
To me, the trailer was just really funny. Like, it's because they have such like an interesting like cast of, the voice actors. It's like very like A-list actors.
Right.
So it was like you can immediately tell like who everyone was. I like Jack Black as Bowser. I think that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
I think Chris Pratt as Mario is just like kind of like ironically funny. It's just such an interesting like pairing because he's been like a voice actor for so many characters and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I think probably most notably the Lego Movie.
Yep, Lego Movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly a weird choice when I heard that they were casting him, but it's exciting.
Sure.
I think I'm sure. I mean, I don't think it'll be anything like really groundbreaking, but I mean, the movie looks spectacular. So I'll probably watch it when it comes out in April.
We'll probably do an episode on it when it comes out.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the last thing is that the 35-year anniversary for The Princess Bride is going to be on October 9th.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I got to watch that again. That's a great film.
It's a good one.
Absolutely great film.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in quite a while. Very quotable. Very quotable movie.
Absolutely.
But I think that's it for the current film news.
Great.
We'll try to update everybody on new stuff as it comes out.
And if there's like anything you guys want to talk about, something that's relevant, just type a comment and maybe we'll get to it to the next episode.
Yeah, totally. So I think it's time to move on to the main focus of today's episode.
Yes, we were going to talk about the Truman Show because I recommended that in the last episode. How many times is this like your second time watching the Truman Show then?
I watched it a couple times as a kid.
Yeah.
Never again as an adult. There was a big gap where I just didn't watch it. But I knew of it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was certainly familiar with it. But watching it again the other day, it was good. Yeah,
absolutely. It's like a film that I love on so many levels. It's really entertaining. It's funny. It's like a Jim Carrey movie, and I said this in the last episode, but he's not like super crazy. He's funny, but he's like more down to earth, and he feels like a person, like 'cause he's the main character. I love everything about the film. It's for all those reasons, but it's also like has a lot of like social commentary. I don't know if you like picked up on some of that stuff.
Yeah, I think so. And we can, because we did warn the audience that we were going to watch it, so I feel like we can go into spoiler territory.
This is a spoiler.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I think the ending, the very end, like the final moments of that movie are probably the most profound in it, because like you're invested in Truman trying to escape, like the fake reality that they created for him.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, he leaves and they cut the transmission, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, let's move on to the next thing. Like it was such a big thing,
right?
And with such an anticlimactic end. But
I think that's the point, though. That like people are like the instant gratification. Like everyone's watching the Truman Show, like in the movie, because well, if you're still here and you haven't watched it, maybe we should explain what the Truman Show is.
Yeah.
Sure. The Truman Show. It's this guy named Truman, and his entire life is a lie. He's like built in this like kind of like a facility. It's like that big like dome you can see from space and everything.
Yeah.
It's like one of like the only like man-made structures that is visible from space, and it's like this island, and it just looks like an American like nice town, kind of like L.A. or something.
Yeah.
A beach town, and every person he interacts with is an actor, and since birth he's been like there's been videos of him.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole town that he was put into is just one big movie set.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone in his life are actors, except he's the only one that doesn't know that he's an actor, and then he eventually catches on, which is the plot of the movie. But yeah, Truman Show was, I thought, very good.
Absolutely.
Very good. Yeah. What are your? I guess because you were the one who recommended. What are some of your favorite movies from it? Or not
favorite
movies,
moments from
the movie.
Yeah. There's a lot of aspects of the film I like. The directing is so unique because there's so many different cameras. Like cameras from really weird locations, like in the dash cam of the car or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like someone will have like a button. There's like a camera on a button. There's just cameras everywhere in like the weirdest locations. So the directing is like so different from what you're normally gonna see. Instead of like it's unique. It kind of feels like you're watching the Truman Show while you're watching it. Honestly, I think that's what they were going for. Yeah. It makes me question. I was walking my apartment today. And I was just like looking around. And I was just like, what if there's cameras right now? Like, how would the audience be reacting? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Sam?
Yeah, I think there were numerous times, especially. Oh man, it was right after. I forget exactly where it is.
Yeah.
But it's where he's sort of figuring out that people, or that the whole world that he lives in, is just watching him essentially. And so I think it was right after he heard that he was leaving on the radio. And so it's this big, long take of him, like, walking around in random directions and then hiding and squatting. And you can see that the camera's moving around. But, like, even shots like when he's walking and you see him out of the reflection of a car door mirror, and then the mirror moves to move along with him. It was really creatively done. But it's also, like, it felt like they were looking for angles to get him from, and there were cameras everywhere watching him. So, I would agree that the cinematography in that was really creative and really just not necessarily new, but there was just a lot of things that you saw where you're like, oh yeah, I do feel like I'm an audience member on the Truman Show, not just like watching the events of the film.
For sure. Yeah. It's just. The fact that they had to like keep up this facade in like so many ways, like think about it. What if your whole life was a lie, and your family, they're not even your real family. Your mom, your father aren't even like real. Like that's insane to imagine. And I think Truman like finally realizes at one point in the film was like when his best friend,
yeah,
Marlon, I think that's his name.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Marlon's like, if everyone's in on this, then I have to be in on this. And then like
right.
they have this like big emotional moment, and at that point you kind of realize, oh yeah, or Truman realizes like, yeah, my life is a lie.
Yeah.
I think like at face value, that's what's like really interesting about the film, and that's like what I always like got from it originally. But then like once you kind of realize it's like an allegory for like Truman, kind of like seeing like social, like all the social dynamics of real life. Like Truman like is like, we are Truman basically. Like we are like aware, like his perception, he's like seeing everything around him and it looks fake. But like in a way, people can kind of be like that at times. Yeah. Like I think like there's like certain patterns that people like just kind of get stuck in, and then you kind of like live the role of this person. Like you're like a character in real life. Is that making any sense, or am I just rambling?
No. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I think the at the end of the movie when the director of the whole show, he's speaking to Truman directly as he's about to leave. He compares the fact that like the world that Truman lives in is different and it's safe. Yeah. And while that may be true, it's like it's really hard to see. It's kind of hard to see the difference between the set and the real life, because while the actors are all moving around, like Truman really in the show is really the only one that's wanting to do something with his life, I guess.
He has ambition, desire,
right?
Right.
And so then it's juxtaposed upon the real world, and I guess the only and it's just people watching the show, and when it's done, of course everyone's just like, oh, let's move on to the next thing, and
I love
so
that so much.
The movie has the message of like, go do something with your life, like live life to the fullest, like achieve your dreams. He wanted to go to Fiji, but how many people have just been like, oh no, we got to settle down. Yeah, oh no, like I can't go to Fiji,
don't be like another cog in the machine. Like,
right.
Stand out, do something, like see what's happening around you and like advocate against that.
Right. Yeah. And so I think the somber tone at the end, like it's a really celebratory moment, and then right at the end it makes the movie kind of somber because it's like you're like, oh man, and you have a moment of like, wait a minute, I do that though. Yeah. And so I don't know. Maybe the message of the movie is to be like Truman. Yeah. Yeah. To live life how you want it. For sure. But yeah, no, I thought. I thought a fairly deep movie.
Absolutely.
Deep movie.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it from like a Jim Carrey like comedy film.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think his performance in that was probably the best I've seen.
Oh yeah,
at least
that's that's my favorite one.
Right, because he incorporated a lot of his like trademark Jim Carrey like physical humor into it, but it wasn't like the over the top stuff like he did for The Mask or like Ace Ventura, stuff like that. And so I thought his reactions in that movie and the way just he acted in general was just, it was very it was still Jim Carrey. It was still very much Jim Carrey, but it wasn't. But I think it served the film not in a comical way, but I thought it brought across his turmoil and his kind of going crazy. In that world, really, really well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Is there like, did you have any favorite moments of the film? You think? You mentioned the ending. I think the ending is fantastic in the way that like he does the catchphrase again. Because remember, like his catchphrase in the beginning, where it's like, "If I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night," or something like that. Yeah, and then he says it at the very end one more time, like kind of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the audience, and the creator. Yeah.
I think my favorite part of the movie. Oh yeah, that's my favorite part. When he's looking through his photo album and he sees his wife crossed her fingers.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
And then she leaves the house to go because she's trying to avoid him and get away from him. And she's like, "Oh, she's like, oh, I have to go to the ER. Some person got hit by a car, and I have to save them. We don't know if they'll make it. And he goes, oh, well, I'll keep my fingers crossed.
Keep my fingers crossed. Yeah. It's so funny.
It was, just like a really, like, I was very surprised by that moment in the movie.
Yeah.
I just thought it was very good. Yeah.
And, like, I think the whole, like, his wife, her name's Meryl. I think the whole character is really interesting. 'Cause, like, did she ever care about him, or is she just doing it to, like, be on TV and, like, make money and fame? I think that's really fascinating. And multiple times she, like, does, like, a very, like, obvious, like, advert, like,
yes,
like the cocoa beans or whatever, and, like, Truman's like, what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, Truman's just like, why are you giving me an advert? Like, all of a sudden, it's just like it's really on the nose at those parts, but it's funny.
Right.
It's
or
so
even
comical.
the twin guys who get him on the corner.
Yep.
And then they push him into the sign that says
every
like, Kaiser
day.
Chicken or whatever new advertisements up there.
It's so funny.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think probably another. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's move on to you. I feel
Okay.
like. What do you have another favorite moment from that show?
There's so many. I like how during once he finds out and after he talks to Marlon, his best friend, the next day, like everything, because he realizes what's happening and then he like creates a plan, but you don't get to see that.
Yes.
Then like that next day, he's like back to normal, because for a while like he's like changing and he's seeing what's going on, but then he's like he's playing the character now. He's playing like Truman, the one that everyone wants him to be, and like the show producers and everyone's happy again. I just think it's so funny. He's like in the mirror. He's like doing like the spaceman thing. It's like,
oh yeah, yeah.
I just thought that was stuff like that was really funny.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think. Oh man, I think I lost my train of thought.
You're all good. You're all good.
Another part I thought was really good. Yeah, I think. Oh man, the part when he and Marlon are talking on the dock, it's just so like I couldn't tell if Marlon. For me, like at first, it seemed like Marlon was gonna be like Truman, it's all fake, because he was like actually his like friend. Yeah. But then he just keeps going on with the lines, and I think I like the part where they bring back Truman's father.
Oh yeah. He's like a homeless guy,
right,
like, on the streets, like trying to like, get to Truman.
Well, I thought it had been, and it's. I think it stinks so bad because at the beginning, when you see Truman's father, I don't know if it was like a genuine thing. Like I didn't know if his like fake dad cared about him and like wanted to tell Truman like, hey, your life is fake. Like you're on a TV set.
Yeah.
But then when I realized that. Now, I may be wrong about this.
Sure.
The writers purposely threw his dad back into the mix, right? I think because when they bring him back at the end on the dock, does that sort of reveal that, like, no, his fake dad wasn't just trying to get on set?
Yeah, so originally his dad dies, and that's like, it's like one of the first scenes. Like he dies in like a boat crash, and Truman's with him. And like that whole point was to make it so like Truman is scared of leaving. He's like, so he's like traumatized and he hates water throughout the film.
Right.
And then that was planned, but him coming back on the show originally, he just snuck onto the show. There's like a line about that. So he snuck onto the show. And that kind of like was one of the big inciting incidents for Truman to like realize like, hey, something's going on. My dad died. How is he back all of a sudden?
Right.
Like it was just another thing, which like an inconsistency.
Right.
Like Truman is basically like, you've seen The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
He's basically like Neo. He like sees everything. He's seeing all the like the falseness of reality. So the writers had to figure out, well, how do we explain his dad? Because they're explaining every single thing. Like there's one point where the radio messes up in Truman's car, and then Truman hears like kind of like the people, I guess like the producers
or like the directors or managers,
like the sound, and they're like describing exactly where he's driving in the road, and it's like he's going on this street, and Truman's like, what the heck? And then they explain it. They do like another radio frequency, like this high pitched noise, and then everyone in the city like stops.
Yeah.
Because everyone has like an earpiece in. Then like over the radio, some guy was like, "Oh, we just picked up on a police scanner." It's like so stupid. So I was
it's always, and I love how they insert that line where it's like, it's always good to remember that sometimes crazy things like these happen, and you shouldn't really think about it at all.
It was like so gaslighting. It's like they gaslighted Truman for his entire life.
Right.
But going back to his dad, so they had to explain that, and I think the best way to explain that was like he was back. He was still alive.
Sure.
So that's how they did that.
Okay. Yeah. Because that was something I had thought about. Like I was like, did they purposely write in his dad showing up to like get the audience to do that, or did he sneak on and then they were like, and then they
what do we do?
Paycheck and we're like, oh hey, your dad's back, Truman.
Yeah. Well, he had to have snuck on because remember, as soon as it happens, like 2 people like take him away.
Yeah.
And then like I think there's another radio or something where it's like, oh yeah, the homeless population, we're trying to get control of them, which is,
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
I've seen this film so many times. So.
Yeah.
Do you have any like questions or anything that you didn't really?
I think that was the only.
Cool.
That was really the only thing that I was kind of like, oh, I was like, was that written in or? Yeah.
Was there anything that like you didn't like about the film? Because like for me, like I'm so biased that like I love every aspect of this film. I'm curious if there's like anything that you would change or do differently.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
I think that the plot was neatly tied together. I appreciated the fact that they it wasn't just 100% from Truman's perspective.
Right.
I think if it was just because Neo, you watch The Matrix and it's all in Neo's perspective.
For sure.
But I think it feels like the message is better conveyed when you're like the real world watching the Truman Show.
For sure. Yep.
So no, I honestly I don't think there was anything I didn't like about it or criticized. Yeah. Oh man, I think another cool shot I liked from it was when he's talking to Marlon.
Yeah.
In the and his job. I think it's so funny when he was talking about moving to Fiji and he was just like, oh, like stocking. They picked the most boring job on the planet, which is stocking vending machines.
Yep.
He's like, well, stocking vending machines is a really good job. It's really entertaining.
It's like,
what? That would probably be the least entertaining job on the planet.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I thought that was really, really comedic when.
Not to like badmouth anyone. It's like stocking vending machines,
right?
But like, you know what I mean? Like
right.
the point of just like not setting your ambition any higher. And like Truman, I guess every character is stagnant.
Right.
They're okay with this. Whereas that's why like Truman is an actual person. He's a true man. You know what I mean? Like that's why
I didn't think about that.
He's the Truman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why he has ambition. That's why he wants to do things despite like the whole fabrication of them like making him believe that he's afraid of water. They shouldn't travel. Like he goes to the travel agency and there's just like a poster of an airplane and it's like lightning zapping it. And it's like this could happen to you. It's like no one put that at a travel agency. They want to sell the plane tickets and it's just like stuff like that. It's hilarious. Mm-hmm.
Now, here's something, and I feel like given that we saw the other things in the movie, that I'm sure it would have just not worked out in some way. But when he goes to get on the boat,
sure,
where would the boat have gone? Like, why did they even have a boat?
When he's a kid?
In that place. No, when he goes to get on the boat and he gets too scared at the beginning, or the ferry. Maybe it would have just broken down. Maybe or something, because I mean, when he gets on the bus breaks down.
Yep. Conveniently,
right?
The guy just like puts it in gear, then it just like breaks down.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we could reasonably assume if he just went on the ferry boat, that they would have been like, okay, and then they made it fail or something.
Yeah.
But that was one thing where I was like, what if he like got on the ferry boat? Like, why did they even try to get him to buy like a ticket or anything.
Yeah.
Like I feel like maybe they would have wasted his time, and then they're like, "Oh, the ferry boat's gone. Sorry, took a little too long."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think it was a test because I
Yeah.
think they knew that he wouldn't have been able to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and they were going. I feel like they went under the assumption because his father died. You know.
Yep.
And so that their whole plan was to make him afraid of leaving and afraid of the water on an island.
That's why the ending is so profound, though. That he sails on the boat by himself. He's like going through his he's facing his most traumatic event in his entire life.
Yeah.
And he almost dies from it.
Mm-hmm.
I that's why I just love the ending.
Yeah, but he still emerges triumphant. You know?
Yeah.
So, I think the score I thought was really nice.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially when he, although it was a little it wasn't very. It was a little minimalistic. Like there wasn't a whole lot of music through it.
It played at very key points.
Right.
In the film, like when he's going to that revolving door. Do you remember that scene? He's going to his job, which is through a revolving door.
Yeah.
And instead of going through, he just walks around, and it has this interesting shot.
Yeah.
And then it plays this music. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, or even the, when he's on the boat.
Yep.
That had a lot of really good music.
Absolutely.
Probably my favorite track, I guess, from the movie is when he goes across that bridge over the water.
Yeah.
And has his wife go across the bridge.
He closes his eyes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Stomps his foot on the gas.
And when he's running through the the nuclear power plant.
Yep.
You know.
That is so. That entire scene. It's
Yeah.
he goes across the bridge. Then he's oh no, there's a forest fire.
Right.
It's just the fire just emits on
Right.
the road, and then it's oh no, the nuclear power plant broke down. It's everything.
Right. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, and I like some of the commentary that they have on just modern shows like that, because a lot of stuff like that just feels like it could happen in a show. So I feel like
sorta.
Or in a show that wouldn't have, of course, somebody that believes that that's their life. But it comments on the surprise return of his dad, and then they're oh, we'll just write it in as amnesia or something.
Yeah,
you know?
Amnesia.
Yeah.
It's they're the producers are asking him, and sorry to cut you off.
Right. Oh no.
And they're how are you going to explain this? And he's amnesia. And it's everyone's oh wow, that's really smart.
Genius.
And it's that's the most generic thing.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Well, I think it if you look at shows like Lost.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Lost. I feel like it's an old enough show. I feel like
It's
if you don't know the
over
big plot
10 years.
twists.
Over
Yeah.
10 years at this point.
But I guess the show right at the end. I've never seen it, but I know about the end.
Yep.
I guess it was all a dream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's purgatory or something.
Maybe.
Or was it
like that?
Yeah.
But I think I guess I might be wrong because I've never seen a second of Lost, but I'm fairly sure you go through 9 seasons of a show, and then the last episode, the last final moments, the whole cast that was there wakes up on the island.
You're joking?
I think I'm fairly sure
Okay.
that's what happens. I'm 95% sure.
If there's any Lost fans that are watching this, maybe correct us
yes,
in the
please,
comments.
please clarify. Yeah.
I remember I never watched it. I
Yeah.
remember I was young, so it wasn't really something my family really wanted me to watch.
Yeah.
But I watched episodes and clips, so that sounds roughly right to my
Sure.
adolescent brain.
Sure.
Remembering that.
But I think, and there's the term jumping the shark, if you've ever heard that term.
Yeah.
I think, oh man, I forget what character did it. It was in an old show.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the Fonz? Is that
The
Do you know who that
Fonz?
character is?
Sounds familiar.
He's
I don't
he was this dude that wore this leather jacket. It's from an
Okay.
old show, but he was always super cool. He was the cool guy.
I'm the Fonz.
But they had made him. He was on water skis or something. And it was supposed to be I'm fairly sure a family comedy, but there was a scene where there was a shark in the water, and he had to go up this ramp and jump over the shark, and it was this real cool scene. But
Is that where it comes from?
Yeah. So I guess the term jumping the shark is when a movie gets where you're
Okay.
I don't buy it.
Okay,
Yeah.
buddy.
And so I think going back into the Truman Show when he's trying to escape, and then they're oh, the nuclear power plant it just exploded after this big forest fire.
No way.
There was a lot of I think it commented on TV for just like inserting random like stupid things or like, hey, your father's back after 20 years. You know,
I never thought about that. That's actually
Yeah.
I never thought about that point. Yeah, it really a lot of TV shows jump the shark.
Right.
Yeah. I guess like when you run out of ideas, like what do you do?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
throw something random at the dartboard. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, I mean, how many plots, like, even if the main character gets amnesia or, like, they joke about, like, or, like, when the love interest dies and then comes back.
Yep.
You know, I mean, we've seen a lot of it, but there's, I do like, some of, like, this more subtle humor of the movie that was, like, like, those moments where, where his dad comes back, or just, like, you get that, the girl that he ended up actually liking, not his, like, fake actress wife. What was her name? I forget.
Oh gosh,
I forget that lady's
I should remember.
name.
I don't remember. Yeah.
But I like that. Like they were even willing to like tell Truman that she was like a schizophrenic or something.
Yeah.
Like, we're moving to Fiji.
They went like so far.
Right. I mean, I'm fairly sure. Wasn't that like the exact polar opposite? Like they said they were moving her to, I think, literally on the other side of the planet.
Yeah, going to Fiji.
Right. But I think I enjoyed a lot of the subtle humor of that, where they would just insert a lot of things because you could see that in a show.
For
you
sure.
know?
It's kind of like soap operas. You know what I mean? I've never been a fan of soap operas really.
Right.
That's kind of like what it is. Like,
yeah,
they always jump the shark, or just like how do you keep the show going when?
Right.
I mean, everything has shelf life. You know what I mean? Nothing can last forever. And like good TV shows, everything's got to end eventually.
Yeah.
And no, it's interesting.
Is there anything else you would want to say about the Truman Show?
I think at this moment, probably not.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sure.
I could talk about it more, but I think that sums up my thoughts pretty well.
Quite,
for sure. Yeah. If you had to give it a rating, or what would you give it?
I didn't really have any issues with the movie.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I feel like since you recommended it first,
sure.
Let's
okay.
Yeah, let's
right.
do you first. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I don't know if we're gonna be doing numbers ratings in films or not.
Sure.
But because sometimes it's a little subjective, and like, some days I feel like this film, like one film is like a 10, other days it's like, not as high as that. But I mean, to me, this Truman Show is like a fantastic social commentary, which is funny, but it's also an allegory for a whole lot of things. I'd probably give it like a high 9, maybe like a 9.5 if I out of 10 if I really had to rate it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite films.
I think, I really enjoyed the Truman Show. I think there's not anything that really stood out to me as bad in it. I thought the story was great. I thought the music was great. I think it was, in my personal opinion, Jim Carrey's best performance. And it proves that he's a really good actor.
Absolutely.
Outside of just like physical comedic humor. I probably would give it, if not a 9, maybe like an 8.5.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
But I'm probably leaning more towards 9 because I feel like there's no reason for it not to be 9.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree.
Cool.
9.
Cool.
9 out of 10.
Great. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss on this episode, Sam?
I feel like that's it.
Alrighty.
At
cool.
least in the Truman Show aspect. Perhaps we'll move on to maybe what we should watch next week.
Sounds great. Yeah. What were you thinking?
So it took me a really long time to figure out what I wanted to watch. I moved through a couple different things. I didn't know if I should find something that I had watched already, or that we could both just like blind react.
Like a
to.
new.
Yeah. So I did decide on. I've watched a slight amount of this.
Okay.
But it's the movie Whiplash.
Okay.
The director, his name escapes me right now. But it has Miles Teller, who's the main character.
Yeah.
I forget what movies he's been in. He was, I guess, have you seen like that Fantastic Four reboot that they did that wasn't very good?
Fan-Four-Stick?
Yeah.
Fan-Four-Stick?
Yeah.
No, I can't watch that.
No, not that. No. It's not that movie.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying, have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
But he played Reed Richards in that movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But this movie is not. We are not going to watch Fan Four Stick.
No
way. No way. But the movie's called Whiplash.
Okay.
And so it's about, as like a short synopsis, it's about Miles Teller's character, who's a drummer, and he goes to college, and he deals with a instructor, like a conductor for a jazz group that demands quite a lot, and he's played by J.K. Simmons.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And I love J.K. Simmons as an actor, and almost everything he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But the movie, I am fairly sure, has gotten pretty good critical acclaim. From what I've seen of it, the cinematography is really neat.
Yeah.
And obviously, we're not going to discuss it till next podcast.
Yep.
But I gotten 20 minutes in, and I've certainly never had an experience where it was like as intense as his character.
Oh wow. Okay.
Has had to deal with in as a music ed or as a music student. But there was a moment where he's in rehearsal, and something goes wrong, and it hit a little too close to home for me.
Yeah.
As
felt very real for you.
Yeah. So I only got 20 minutes in. So I feel like, for the purposes of this podcast, we could watch it.
Sounds great. Yeah. So let's watch that. Then next episode we'll talk about it and welcome you guys to talk. Watch it too.
Sure.
Cool.
I'm not sure how long this episode went. I feel like it maybe on the shorter end.
Yeah,
I forgot to set a timer for it.
Yeah.
But I think this was a good discussion.
Yeah.
So we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
If you want to tell your friends, share us on social media. Have a good one.
Sure. Thank you. In case we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.